Hello and welcome. I am Gimba Umar. Tonight, Chief of Army Staff extols gallantry efforts of troops in theatres of war, calls for more responsiveness and professionalism on the path of the troops. Tonight, we begin our review of the year 2019 and we kick off with security, the challenges and the way forward. President Muhammadu Buhari assures Burkina Faso of Nigeria and ECOWAS support following deadly terrorist attack in the country that claimed 35 lives. And at least 16 persons are killed in the Philippines Typhoon Fanton, with several missing and others displaced.
On Business News tonight, nearly 98 trillion naira worth of transactions carried out on interbank payment and POS platforms as volume surges by 58% in the last 11 months of 2019.
And on Sports News tonight, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang's second-half strike rescues a point for Arsenal as Mikel Arteta's first game in charge ends in a 1-0 draw at Burnley.
From Abuja, Bauchi State government vows to eliminate ghost workers as state judiciary discovers 55 illegal workers in its workforce.
With the celebrations of the Yuletide season in the air, some patriotic Nigerians have denied themselves all the fun that comes with the festivities, but remaining on duty to strengthen the country's traditional integrity, territorial integrity, especially in the northeast. That explains why the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, has decided to send words of encouragement to the brave soldiers in the troubled zones, asking them to display more professionalism and responsiveness in the discharge of their constitutional roles. In his goodwill message to the troops on the occasion of Christmas and New Year festivities, General Buratai applauds the roles played by all officers and men in the operations of the Northeast, as well as those on other operations across the country and abroad. He challenged them to remain steadfast and sustain the momentum in the fight, while restating what he describes as his passion for troops' welfare. Adding to this, according to him, is the President's assurance of his total support to the armed forces to bring all ongoing operations to a logical conclusion. He commended the troops for their bravery, doggedness and loyalty, urging them to maintain the momentum and remain steadfast. Staying with security matters, the year 2019 saw Nigerians back to the polls to elect new leaders at state and national levels. But it is not just the elections that dominated headlines this year. As many say, this has indeed been an eventful year. Tonight, we begin our series on the performance of the various sectors of the economy, the outgoing year, and we kick off with security. Many argue that in spite of the increase in budgetary allocations to security agencies, insecurity remains a major challenge confronting the country. Our correspondent Amaka Okafor in this next report takes a look at the security situation in the country and the way forward.
It's been a full year of one security challenge or the other as the military and other security agencies continue to grapple with the rise in violence in the country. Some of these crimes that have assumed the worrisome dimension include banditry, kidnapping for ransom and ritual killings. Even though some states have passed laws with death sentence as punishment, this has not deterred criminal gangs. Notable dark spots include the Kaduna-Abuja Highway, Kogi and Benin highways.
Kidnapping, how it became, in fact, a national malaise everywhere you go, inclusive of Abuja. It's in fact, what is going on around Abuja is a bit frightening, because if this is happening in Abuja, where else? How else? Where else can be safe?
The statistics that I have for kidnap for ransom in 2019 is higher than what we had for 2018. In 2018, we had about 670. Currently, even now, before the end of the year, I'm looking at about 900. So there's almost a 30% increment in the figures that we have.
There are still attacks by the Boko Haram terrorists in the northeast, even though the military says the group has been decimated. Also, the clash between the government and the members of the Islamic Movement of Nigeria, also known as Shiite, continued over the detention of their leader and his wife. The situation came to a head in July 2019 when a policeman and a corps member, Mr. Precious Owolabi, lost their lives, leading to a ban of the group and all its activities. The federal government also ordered the closure of all land borders in the country in what it described as the need to respond to the country's economic and national security.
I'm a bit worried that we're seeing a haphazard implementation of those kind of strategies. I want a more global, picture, so that at the end of the day, whatever result is felt, it will be holistic.
While the government tries to control the movement of people, goods and services through the land borders, it also announced a visa on arrival for all African countries, including Libya, a decision that has raised concerns.
I bet you if you have $1,000, you can buy a permanent resident card for Nigeria. And any immigration officer who challenges me on that, I can give him evidence to show him how several of the international community are paying $1,000 for their, and then selling aspects of that expatriate quota to people who want it. So that system is vulnerable. If it's not managed very well, it can be abused.
We've known the role of the foreign fighters in conflict around the world today. So how are we going? We don't have good database. How do you know the person that is coming in? How do you scrutinize the data of that person? We are even struggling with our own data.
The lack of synergy amongst the security agencies came to the fore on August 6, 2019, when soldiers at a checkpoint in Gidanwaya, Taraba State, opened fire on policemen who arrested an alleged kidnap kingpin, Mr. Hamisu Wudame, on their way to Jalingo, the Taraba State capital. This led to a face-off between the army and the police, leading to the setting up of a committee of inquiry into the incident. The committee recommended the punishment of erring officers and soldiers involved in the incident and a better relationship amongst security agencies. However, 4 months after the incident and the submission of the report by the Presidential Committee, the questions begging for answers are: where is Hamisu Wudame? What has become of Captain Tijani Balarabe, who allegedly ordered Wudame's release? What is the fate of the soldiers who opened fire on the police officers on August 6, 2019? These questions and many more need to be answered by the government in the coming year to restore the confidence of Nigerians in the security architecture of the country. Amaka Okafor, Channels Television News.
We're now being joined on the news at 10 by retired Brigadier General Saleh Bala to discuss some of the issues highlighted in that report and how to overcome them. I want to thank you so much indeed for joining us on the news at 10. There are really several operations currently going on in different parts of the country involving almost all the security agencies, the police, for instance, the Army, the Navy and the Air Force. Yet, this issue of insecurity remains a challenge. What, in your view, is responsible for this?
Thank you very much, Gimba. It's been a long time. Lots of things are indeed responsible. If you will agree with me, the world is on a turmoil. For as much as that is, there are insecurities spinning off all over the world. But that is not to say we should not be concerned by the primary environment of ours, which is our nation. Of course, we would be able to identify the myriad of problems that we have. But also, we should understand that if for the major of the problem is the insurgency and the counter-insurgency being launched by government in the Northeast, that an insurgency is indeed a long war, because it's a war, it's a fighting based on a belief, on a philosophy. So it is not an easy go kind of warfare. And as you well know, it also follows a comprehensive approach. Comprehensive in the sense that it is not just all of government, but it is all of society. You know, in the philosophy of war, as we are taught in our various war colleges, wars are fought in a triangle, which is the Clausewitzian triangle. It involves the government, the military, and the citizen. And there has to be a build of a coalition amongst these three groups. It's not just government that fights the war or the military that fights the war. It also includes the society. So the building of this marriage between the three triangles in Nigeria, as far as my observation is as a security consultant, is where the problem that there is.
So if you say that there is a problem right there, let me just pick it up from there. How much of successes do you think we've recorded when it comes to the synergy that we see between the army, the police, and other security outfits? Are they being successful in the prosecution of the war against insurgency or any other crime for that matter?
If for the Northeast, we know full well that except for the new tactics, the new strategy which the insurgents have adopted, whereby they now attack soft targets, so to speak. It wasn't like in the past, before 2015 into 16, where they had a SWAT of the Northeast that was under their control. But we know full well that the pressure has been put on them, and they themselves, they had to readopt to their strategies. Now you can travel to some limits. I am not sitting here to say all is well or is fully well, but we know full well that there has been some effort and there has been some successes that have been. We don't have local governments all occupied. Some of the cities that have been taken over by the insurgents have now been relieved, and we have some extent of sanity in those areas. But then, I will take you a little bit aside to the reality of war, especially a war, the kinds of insecurities that have come to a nation that is in a nascent democracy. For 20 years that we have, there is what we are taught, which is called the J-curve. When you have an advent of democracy, normally there are new freedoms and new expressions that come forth. And if you take the J in the curve, there will be a deep slump. And gradually, over time, with the right governance and the right security sector governance, which we need to definitely work very much upon in building a strong strategy, in also capacitating the capability of our forces, and reinforcing the appropriate procurement for our forces to be able to be at speed to counter this new insurgencies that we're having around the world that use equally high-grade military weapons.
That's a good place to let it rest. I most sincerely thank you, retired Brigadier General Saleh Bala, for discussing this very important issue of security and insecurity that we face in our country, Nigeria. Many thanks indeed for talking to us.
Thank you very much.
Nigeria may be battling its security challenges, but that will not prevent it from offering a helping hand where necessary to any of its neighbors facing similar challenges. And that's the crux of President Muhammadu Buhari's message to his counterparts in Burkina Faso, Roch-Marc Christian Kabore, over the terrorist attack on the country on Tuesday, which left 35 people dead. In a statement with his spokesman, the president says that slaying of 31 women amongst the innocent victims was cowardly and remains condemned by reasonable opinions all over the world. The president also says that he looks forward to a meeting of the two leaders in the new year to discuss issues of security and economy to both countries. Burkina Faso is mourning the killing in the northern town of Arbinda and a military base by jihadists for 2 days now. In part two, after the break, a look at the costs victims of sexual abuse have to bear in seeking justice as concerns over rising cases grow. Join us again.